Assalamualaikum. Greetings everyone. How are you doing? Hope everyone is fine, happy and cheerful always. Today I'm going to discuss about foundations of employee motivation. What is employee motivation? Okay, before we go into employee motivation, what motivates you into doing your MBA? And what motivates you to do something that you like? So there must be a push factors that actually push you to achieve what you want. So that is what we call the drive or the motivations. Yeah. Why motivation is important? If without motivation, how we can do things? How can we work? There must be something that motivates you. Well, motivation, there are two types of motivation: the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic, when we talk about deep down in our heart, what we like, that is someone, if we are a risk taker or we love challenge, so we want something related to the challenge, so we want to do because we want to fulfill our needs, we want to fulfill our desire. And what about extrinsic? It's easy, we talk about the money, the promotion, the recognitions that you have, the monetary rewards, the bonus. So we human being, actually we are motivated by these two factors, the extrinsic and the intrinsic. And it depends on which can actually influence you more, the extrinsic or the intrinsic. Well, it depends on the individual. When you have the motivation, what will happen? What it will lead into? Of course, the achievement, job performance, job satisfaction. And also before we reach into job satisfaction, we talk about how engaged we are to the team, to the organization. That's when we talk about the employee engagement. So employee engagement, we talk about the focus, the efforts toward the work-related goals, and how we could actually enhance our motivation. Because I read somewhere there's a few effective ways that actually can enhance the motivation. First is the trust. So the employer should tell them that how they trust the employees, and besides that, having smaller goals, realistic goals, and so that it can motivate the staff to do the work. Not just smaller or realistic goals. Sometimes it could be some, as I mentioned before, people like challenge. Can give them some challenge so that it could enhance their motivation to achieve certain things. And at the same time, we as the employers should radiate positivity in the workplace. So if you have your people, your working environment have positive vibration, so it could enhance the motivation itself. What happen if there's no positivity in the workplace? It would affect your moods, and also affect your attitude. So then motivation could actually enhance you, can improve yourself. Even motivation also can help us in enhancing ourselves to become a better person in the workplace. So it is important to have motivation. What can actually motivates you? As you know, intrinsic and the extrinsic. And what are the needs? Actually, when you have this needs, when you have this motivation, it will create a needs to you. Needs, for example, you want to be promoted, you want to be successful in the business, and so on. So you have your own ambition. Then with this need, it could bring into the behavior that what you need to do. And one of the example is you are here doing your MBA. And when we learn about the needs and the motivation, so there are some theories that you need to understand. First theory that we call is the learn needs theory. It actually can be strengthened or weakened based on our self-concept, social norms, or the past experience. Because some people, they feel like they don't know anything, so because they keep on facing with failure, Maybe one of the reason because they don't have enough knowledge on certain things. So one of the way that can help people to enhance, to actually motivate and to enhance the personal strength is through training. So by having this learn need theory actually tell us that with training, you can enhance your self concept, your strength, And there are three the three learn needs that you need to know. The first one is the need for achievement. Everyone wants achievement, even myself. I want to achieve something with what I'm doing now. So that's why I did my study, and then now when I'm working, I want to achieve in my work as well. I want to achieve success in my work. So I learn from others on how I can improve. And then we talk about the needs for affiliation. We need to bond with others as well. So our social self, and we need to have self-verification. So we need people to accept us, to actually acknowledge us. And lastly, the need for power. Of course, when you get the power, you get the position that you want, you have the power to control. But of course, not to control enough, a control freak, but the power, because you have the knowledge with you the power to actually do how you get things done. So that's the learn need theory. And what else that you need to know? Of course, you know about the Maslow needs hierarchy theory. And now, we're not just the 5 needs. We have other needs as well. The needs to know and the needs for beauty. We are human, right? So, of course, beauty is important. Not just for the men, not just for the women, but for the man itself. And also the needs to know. And why we need to know? Because, in the condition now with the pandemic, the epidemic of this COVID-19, so we need to know the information. We need to know how we could prevent. Then this need to know, it is important for our safety, of course for our physiological need, and also for our belongingness, so we need to know what can be done to minimize the issues, what can be done to avoid this disease, and what else that we should know, and when we talk about motivation beside the learn need theories, so we need to understand the 4 drive theory of motivation, because we human, we have the drive. The 4 main important drive is the drive to acquire. We can say the needs for achievement. The acquire mean you need to get something, knowledge, experience. Like in Maslow hierarchy, the need is to know. And the drive to bond, we talk about the sense of belongingness. We want to belong in a group. And drive to comprehend, to understand certain things, like now what we have now, to understand what is the disease and how we could prevent ourselves from getting it. And the drive to defend, how to protect ourselves. So we need, in the organization, so we need to protect ourselves. Also, how to protect ourselves from all this office politics. So we also need to know certain knowledge on how we could understand people's psychology as well. So that is what we talk about, the 4 drive theories. And you will also learn on how this 4 drive theory motivates people, and also other theory, they call it the expectancy theory of motivation. Talk about how our effort can actually improve the performance, and the performance will lead to an outcome, whether we will get paid or we will compensate with the fair rewards or not. So that's the balance. Talk about the expectancy theory of motivation, And what about ABCs of behavior modification? Talk about the antecedent and the consequences of a behavior. What leads to a certain behavior? Why we have to work? Why we want to improve ourselves? Because they see that you are required to do that, and there's a need for that. So that's why you try to perform. When you perform, what are the consequences? When you did great, will you get the promotion? Will you get the bonus that you want? So we talk about the ABC's behavior of the modification. We talk about also the reinforcement. There's a positive reinforcement, the punishment, the extinction, and also the negative reinforcement. So why we need that? Because it actually to enhance our motivation to produce certain behavior. When we are being introduced with rewards, of course it will lead into a positive behavior. We want to increase the behavior. What about the punishment? If you are coming late to the organization, so many times what can be the punishment? Maybe you'll get a love letter from the organization and so on. Something that you need to understand, yeah, about the punishment. Why certain punishment is good and why certain punishment is bad. Good is to increase certain behavior, but if it's bad, sometimes to actually reduce certain behavior. And at the time that you need to reduce the consequences so that it could increase the good behavior. And how actually we can help the employees itself to understand certain thing and also for them to behave in a certain way. At the time, we need to remind them of their strength. They have the strengths, but sometimes they didn't know, they didn't realize that. Because when we go back to the Johari window, because we need to know there are some attitude that we show to other people, our behavior, our image that we show to others. Some people see that we don't see in ourselves. So that's why organization should have, they call it the strength-based coaching, to help the employees to understand their strength so that it could enhance and help them in their careers. And of course, the positive feedback, you need to give some feedback from time to time so that the employee knows. So this is what we talk about, the self-verification. So at least when there's a feedback, then we know where we are. Of course, it should be positive. Even if you want to tell something that if the performance is not up to the par, at least if you should know, it should be some diplomacy when telling to the employees, yeah. And of course, when we talk about reward, about the motivation, yeah. But at the time, sometimes what we get, it is different from what we expected. You remember when I told you about the expectancy theory, from when your effort to the performance, and of course when you perform, you expect to get the outcome, you get some bonus, some reward. But if you do not get what you've been promised, how do you feel? The balance, you will feel down, disappointed. So when we talk about, it relates to the equity theory, because in this theory it should be fairness, it should be justice to everyone. If I receive the same salary, my colleague also should have the same thing. I mean, if he receives the same thing, I should receive the same thing. He receives more, I should receive the same thing. But now in the reality, it's difficult because sometimes we work like donkey, but our pay is much lower than those who always, who kiss, to the boss. So this is, the equity theory is just a theory. We hope it could happen only, but not every organization are having this equality. It is always inequality. And what about justice in giving the job, the work? Yeah. At the time, have you been through in an organization where only the boss only listen to one side without listening to ours? When people talk about us, instead of getting our feedback also, but no, they just listen from one side. Where is the procedural justice here? When we talk about procedural justice, we should talk about there should be fairness among employees. And the boss, as a boss, we should be fair. We should listen from both sides. Then only you make the decision. But like I said, based on my experience, it's just a dream. You just leave it as a theory. But I'm not sure about other organizations. Maybe some of you might have a good boss. If a good boss, they will listen from both sides. But what I'm having now, I can say is a reality about procedural justice. Where I'm working now, the boss listen from all sides before making any decisions. And the way that he talks to me, if there's any problem, so he's very diplomacy, using diplomacy, and he's good at it. And at least I'm happy, and I feel that there's an equality in giving the job. Of course, there are sometimes I feel like I am doing more, but it's not because inequality, maybe because the need for certain courses. For example, I'm in the OB or HR, and I have more students under my supervision because of the topic that they choose. It's not because I've been given more as compared to the others. We'll talk about the nature of the work. Okay, that's all from me. We talk about employees' motivation, foundation of the employee motivation. So I just hope that everyone have great motivation and have the great push to actually enhance your spirit to do the job and to achieve what you really want. See you again and all the best.